previous tutorial, I showed you how to use a clipping group or a clipping mask. And that's how to take one layer and make it a container for another layer. Okay, but I went over it really quick. So now I want to really explore that idea for compositional designs. I'm going to go to File and Open. And I will find my Chapter 7 folder here. And I have 7.4, Clipping Masks Design. Now, I want to create a little brochure cover for the Cal State Fullerton Arboretum. Okay, it's a nature center. So I'm giving you two different backgrounds. You can choose either the one with all the plants in the meadow, or you could choose the one with the waterfall. One or the other. I'm going to pick this one because I like more of the green. So I'll open that. There's our cover. Okay, now I want to show people, if they come to the Arboretum, what are some of the things they're going to see there. So I'm going to go to File and Open again. And I have file number 2, the sign that they're going to see when they come to it. So I'll click Open. And I want to cut out that sign. That's a big cement sign. So instead of having you do it and taking a bunch of time, remember that I showed you how I created a tracing. I'm going to show you how to make your own in Chapter 10. But here in Chapter 7, right next to your channels panel is your paths. Arboretum sign tracing. So when I click on that, you can see this outline that I already drew. I'm going to go to the pop-up menu. Let's move this over so you can see this. Oops, let's get that out of the way. I'll go to the Paths pop-up menu, make a selection, and I'm going to keep that at 0. Just make a sharp, clean edge as if I cut it out with scissors. So now that makes a nice selection around our Arboretum sign. Okay, I can take my Move tool, drag it up. I'm going to keep an eye on the tool, the cursor. Wait a second. Drag it back in, then let go of the mouse. And that is a little bit too big. So I'm going to hit Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to transform. I'm just going to pull this corner down. Put it right about there, and we'll put it right about there. Okay, just a little bit inside the edge. And I'm going to pull this all the way down so we cut off a lot of those plants down there. I don't want all these dried up plants. We'll go right there. Fullerton Arboretum. Okay, in fact, I don't like this little gap. Let's pull this edge right just past the edge of our photo so it goes all the way across. There we go. Fullerton Arboretum. I hit Enter on a PC or Return on my Mac. And if I'm on my Move tool, I can hit the down arrow key on my keyboard. Just kind of push this down a little further. People don't need to see a bunch of flat concrete, so I'll just push it down. So we just have a nice little title across the bottom there. Cool, that works for me. Okay, I don't need file number 2 anymore, so let's close that. Now I want to show some of the wildlife that people are going to see when they come to the Arboretum. So I'll go to File and Open again. And we have number 3. You're going to see butterflies. Okay, what I want to do is show this in a circle. I don't want a bunch of squares because those are hard geometric shapes. They don't go great with nature. I'm going to go with an ellipse. If I hold Shift, I can draw a perfect circle. And now when I let go of the mouse, I can go inside and move that circle right around our butterfly here. I switch to the Move tool, and now I drag. And this is actually the worst thing you can do. Let me show you why. I drag it up, wait a second, and I drop it in. Okay, I'll hit Command T on my Mac or Control T on my PC to transform it. And let's say we want to show a butterfly right there, kind of like an inset shot. The problem is when I show this to my boss says, you're doing something for wildlife. Why are you cutting off its wing? That's really bad. You're killing the wildlife. Don't cut off the wings of a butterfly. That's just cruel. Well, I can't fix that. I've already cut out the photo. That's the worst thing you can do. So whenever that happens and somebody else, like a boss, comes in and makes a change, you can't make that change. So you have to throw it away and essentially start all over. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. I don't need number 3 for right now. And what I'm going to do is plan my composition first. Okay, here's how I'm going to do that. I know I have 3 wildlife photos that I would like to show on this cover. So I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'll double click the name and I will call that photo 1. I'll hit enter or return to accept the name. Now I come in with this ellipse. I'm going to hold shift for a perfect circle and I'll put a circle right about there. I always let go of the mouse first, then I let go of the keyboard, and I want to fill that circle with white paint. I just want to mark off the area where I intend to put a photo. Okay, so right there, I'll go to edit. I will fill that with white. So that's the marker. That's where I intend to put my first photo. Command D on a Mac will deselect. That would be Control D on a PC. You can always switch to your move tool and move it around, but that's where photo number 1 is going to go for me. Now I start down here again underneath that and I create another brand new layer. This one would be called photo 2. I hit enter or return on my Mac to accept the name. And I'm going to do this again. I'm going to hold my shift key and do a really big circle. Right there. I let go of the mouse first. Then I let go of the shift key. We'll put it right about here. And I'm going to go to edit, fill, and I'll click OK. Command D on a Mac or Control D to deselect on a PC. Notice I have one circle for photo 1, a separate circle for photo 2. They have to have their own layers. Okay, so we'll go right there. Now I'll do a third circle. So I'll start at the bottom. I'll create another brand new layer, and I'll call that photo 3. Hit enter on a Mac or enter on a PC or return key on a Mac to accept the name. And I do it again. I'm going to hold shift. We'll do one that's kind of middle sized right here. Kind of like that. I let go of the mouse, then the keyboard. I'll move that into position. Edit, fill, OK. Command D on my Mac or Control D on a PC to deselect. So now I have one photo here, and one photo that'll eventually go here. If I think this one and this one are a little too similar, I can click on that, hit Command T or Control T on a PC to transform. And we'll go a little smaller, just so I have some variation to the circle sizes. I hit enter on my PC or return on my Mac to accept the transformation. And then I'm going to come up and go to File and Open one more time. And we have the Cal State Fullerton logo. I'll open that. It's already on a transparent background because I downloaded a PNG file. Those are web files that have transparent backgrounds, so I could just drag it up, wait a second, and drop it in across the top as a title. Okay, obviously it's too big, so Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to transform again. And I'll drag this just inside the edge there. Drag that just inside the edge there. And we'll put it right across the top. You go a little smaller right there. Okay, great. That's a little hard to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click the name, top logo, and to the right, I can double click. That'll bring up my layer styles, and we'll add a little bit of an outer glow. Okay, you always click on the words, not the checkbox. I'll come up here, set it to screen mode, set the color to white. I'll set the opacity to about 90%, make it pretty bright so it kind of helps with the legibility of my type. And then down below, I'm going to change the spread to about 5. So it kind of pushes out from the edge a little bit. And the size, I'll go with maybe 40. Let's go around 29. That'll go a little better. If I go any higher, it's really going to get kind of blurry. But actually, now that I look at that, that kind of looks nicer. It kind of makes it more readable. Okay, forget it. Let's go around 90. There we go. Helps me to read it better. I'll click OK. California State University, Fullerton, the Fullerton Arboretum. Here's what you're going to see when you come here. Now let's show people what they're going to see. Okay, what I would also do, very, very important, save your progress. File menu, save a copy. Make sure you set it to Photoshop for the format. You're not done yet, so Photoshop format will preserve your layers. I'm going to call this last name, first name, Arboretum. I want to save it on my desktop as a Photoshop file. Now remember, as always, this is still the original JPEG, so you have to close this up. You don't save that one. You go to File and Open, and you open the one that you just saved on your desktop. That's the one with your name. So now I pick up where I left off. So let's go to Photo 1. If you're not sure which circle that is, turn off the eyeball so you know we're dealing with this circle. I'm going to go to File and Open. I'll go to my Chapter 7 folder again and 7.4, and I'm going to click on the first photo. There's 3 of them, numbered 3. So we'll start with the butterfly. Small butterflies for the small circle. What you do is you don't cut out anything. You just take your move tool, drag the whole photo up, wait a second, and drop the whole photo in. The whole photo is as big as the cover. We just want it to go in this little circle. So what I'm going to do first is maybe shrink down the butterfly a little bit. Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to transform. I drag the corner up. Now I go onto the photo and drag it back in. So the butterfly is going to be a little smaller like that. It's got to fit inside this circle. But for now, we'll go with something like that. Right now, the butterfly is still a little bit too big, but we'll fix that in a minute. I'm going to hit Enter or Return on my Mac to accept the transformation, and then I put it right over the circle. The butterfly is right on top of that white circle for photo 1. Like I've shown you in the past, the line that divides these 2 layers, you hover over that and you're going to get a hand pointer. While you hold your Option or Alt key, you do not press on your mouse. You're just going to move it on your mouse pad or your desk. Move it up and down without pressing on the mouse. You move it up and down until you see that little box icon. That box has an arrow pointing down. So what that's telling me is if I'm on my Mac and I'm holding my Option key, or I'm on my PC and I'm holding my Alt key, I want to force this butterfly it down into this circle. So right there, I click, and now the butterfly is trapped inside the circle. It's clipped. So here's my move tool. You can see it's trapped inside the circle. So if the butterfly is too big, like my boss complained, I was cutting off the wings, Command T on a Mac to transform. That's Control T on a PC. And I just drag the corners up or down to resize this photo and get that butterfly to fit. Your photo should be slightly bigger than the circle, guaranteeing it completely fills the circle. So I like that right there. I hit Enter on a PC to accept, or Return on a Mac to accept the transformation. And I'm going to do it again. Close the picture of the butterfly. Now I click with my move tool and I find photo number 2. You can tell you're on that when you turn off the eyeball. And I'm going to repeat the process again. File, open. I've already done the butterfly, so now I'm going to do the squirrel. I'm going to drag the entire photo. Just drag the whole thing up. Drop the whole thing in. I'll put it somewhere over that white circle. In between the squirrel and the circle, you put your cursor right on that divider line. Hold your Option or Alt key on a PC. Do not press on your mouse, because if you do, you're just going to copy the squirrel. So you got to throw away that copy. Hold your Option or Alt key, move your mouse, don't press on it until you see that square. Now I can click and I will trap this squirrel inside of this circle. So again, if the squirrel is a little too big, Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to transform your photo. So let's drag a corner down a little bit, move the photo back up, and I kind of like that. I don't want to go too small and try to fit the whole bushy tail in there, because then the squirrel is just going to be too small. But I like that right there. That fits pretty good. I'll hit Enter on my PC or Return on my Mac to accept that transformation. Looks great. I will save my progress. Now I don't need the squirrel anymore. And now I click on photo number 3. You can tell you're on that by turning off the eyeball. You know you're on the right layer. File menu and open. And we'll go grab the turtles that you see all over the area. I'm going to click and drag the whole thing up. Wait a second. Drop the whole thing in. That turtle is big. So I'm going to hover right over the line that separates the turtle from the white circle. You can be on either one, doesn't matter. Hold my Option or Alt key and just move my mouse up and down until I see that box. Now I click. I have trapped the turtle inside the circle, but that doesn't fit very well. So as usual, Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC to transform the photo. You simply drag a corner down, then go onto the photo and lift it back up. And I like that little headshot right there. That's cool. I'll hit Return on my Mac or Enter on a PC. I'm going to save this one more time. File and save. And now the problem is some of these edges just kind of blend right into all the details. That all these grass blades just blend right into these grass blades here. I want the circles to really stand out. So I'm going to come up to photo 1. That is the circle that the butterfly is trapped inside of. So I'm going to click on photo 1. If I turn that off, the butterfly has nowhere to go. So the butterfly is going to disappear. So you got to keep that in mind. On photo 1, I go to the right and I double click. That brings up your layer styles. Okay, I want to add a stroke. I want to add a border around these photos. So I'll click on the word stroke. Here's the color. I don't want it to be black. I want the stroke to be outside the edges of the circle. I obviously want it bigger so it stands out. We'll go about 35. But I don't want dark strokes. So I'm going to click on the color. I can try out any color. I can choose it here by going up to white. Or I could jump right out into the photo and steal color from the logo. Or I can steal color from these flowers. Ooh, I like that. That kind of goes with the rest. I like that. I'm going to steal a yellow from that flower. So I don't have to mix colors. I can steal it. I could do wood chips right here. I could do a yellow flower right there, green grass, cement, whatever you want. But I like that yellowish green. I click OK. And then I'm going to add an inner shadow right down here. I'm going to combine a couple of effects. I'm going to click on the words inner shadow. And right up here, I want my inner shadow to be black. For darker colors, you set your blending mode to multiply. I'll set the opacity to about 70%. We don't want it looking too dark. And then right here, the distance. 0 makes a shadow along all the edges. If you drag it up, you get kind of this crescent shadow like that. And that kind of eats up some of your photo. So I'm going to keep the distance at 0. I'm going to keep the choke at 50. And I'm going to change the size up to about 50 as well. 51. So I get just a little inset shadow, providing just a little hint of depth. When I click OK, this photo number 1 has an effect applied to it. I've added an outline, a stroke, and an inner shadow. But I want the squirrel photo to look the same as that one, and I want the turtle photo to look the same as that one. So right here is the effects. I put my cursor on the word effects, hold my Option or Alt key, and now I press and drag the effects down to photo number 2. I let go of the mouse first, and it copies the effect. So I have this consistency in my design. I put my cursor on the word effects again, hold Option on a Mac or Alt key on a PC, and I drag the effects down to photo number 3. I let go of the mouse first, and now I've got that consistent design look right there. This is going to bring a lot more customers and visitors and wildlife enthusiasts to the Cal State Fullerton Arboretum. Okay, there's only one other thing I want to do, and that's make the edge of the Arboretum sign stand out a little more. So now that I've made a really good change to this file, File and Save, I'll come down to the sign. If you're not sure which layer is your sign, take your Move tool, click, and it will find that layer. Okay, or you just get used to double-clicking and naming your layers. I'll name it sign. To the right, I'm going to double-click, and then I'm going to click on the words Drop Shadow. Okay, right up here, I want to turn off this button. Don't use global light. I don't want all my shadows to match. I'll turn that off. And now I'm going to set the angle down right here about -90, and that pushes a drop shadow up. Okay, I'll set the distance a little further out. You can see it starting to come away from the edge. I'll set the spread to 0, and I'll set the size up. Well, if I drag the size too much, I start to lose that edge. So let's drag the spread out a little bit more. I'll set the spread to about 20. I'll set the distance to about 30. and I'll set the size to about a 65. 30, 20, 65. That creates a nice subtle edge marker to our sign. I click OK. I go to File and Save one last time. It's a beautiful shot of the Fullerton Arboretum. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a beautiful place just to hang out. But there we go. Now that I'm done, I want to save this as a JPEG. So File menu, Save a Copy. I'll just change my format to a JPEG, always on my desktop, and always high quality or 8 to turn that in for credit. And that is how you make the Arboretum really look spectacular here in Photoshop. Check it out sometime. You just promoted it. Answer your own promotion. Go check out all the wildlife. And maybe I'll see you there sometime. If not, I'll see you in the next tutorial.